My name is Shelly Brown. I'm the Supplier Diversity Leader for Aon. I've been around supplier diversity since 1996. First off, it's a common, very popular catchphrase. You have to know your why. As the individual practitioner, you have to know your why. You have to understand why are you being drawn to this opportunity, right? Because I think about not only your career, but I think about vocation. And I think about the Latin root word for vocation, which is vocare, which means really, what is your calling? What's drawing you? What's your why? Because I think if you're thinking about connecting the value to your stakeholders internally, you have to be a cheerleader, you have to be a consultant, you have to be an advisor, you have to be a counselor, and first and foremost, you have to be a practitioner, right? So you have to understand your why, and then you've got to be able to believe in it and understand it in order to convey the value proposition to someone else. If you're not able to do that, whether it's in this aspect of life's journey or another, you are probably not likely to be as successful as you hope to be. Because if you don't have a compelling business case, whether it's in your personal or professional life, about why, you're probably not getting the buy-in that you're looking for from the audience. Again, whether it's in your personal or professional life. Whether it's a supplier in the professional services supply chain, a supplier in a global manufacturing operations, or I'm from Chicago and it's the kid who happens to cut my grass and shovel my snow. It comes down to an equation I call CQD divided by KLT. That's cost, quality, and delivery divided by know, like, and trust. When it's snowing, I need to trust that the kid down the street is going to come out and shovel the snow. I need to be able to like the people that I do business with, and I also want to know the people that I'm doing business with. Regardless of diverse supplier or not, any supplier relationship supporting a client objective, it comes down to know, like, and trust. So to me, that's about relationships. And then the very subjective, tangible requirements around cost, quality, and delivery. What brings me joy in this role is, number one, I really appreciate the chance to connect different organizations who may not know each other, but I have a shared relationship. So for example, this week at the NMSDC conference, I've been able to introduce a supplier to another supplier. They don't know each other, but I happen to know both firms, know what they do, and believe a spark of interest could develop from that initial introduction. I've been able to introduce an Aon client to another Aon client talking about the virtue of supplier diversity. So as a supplier, it's easy for me to step back and just watch that conversation blossom. I've been able to introduce a diverse supplier to an Aon client and be able to spark that conversation and step back and let things blossom and take. That's what really brings me joy about this conference experience, and how I can get out of it a return on the investment. I recently had a death in the family. My mother, our family business in Missouri is politics and government, and my mother worked in an adjacent space around age, sex, gender discrimination. She implemented the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, within the state of Missouri. And, just thinking about her life's journey, I want to be able to continue to honor that with the work that I do. But I think it's also important to be able to tell a story, to leave an impression upon someone who's working adjacent to you or who may be following you about, okay, what's going on in 2018, whether it's geopolitics, local economics, macroeconomics, or the finite circumstances in your industry, and especially trying to connect around diverse supplier engagement. Again, to me, economically empowering historically disenfranchised population groups. Again, adjacency to my mother's work, but I think it's important to be able to tell the story. I don't usually seek the microphone. I don't like to spike the football. I do find it important, just kind of putting things in perspective, to be able to connect and tell a story. There's no difference. To me, that lies again around the cost, quality, delivery, know, like, and trust. Everybody's got to meet key performance indicators, and there's no special circumstances around being a diverse supplier. Whether in my current or previous employers, whether publicly held, whether a public entity or privately held, no one is willing to pay more for the virtue of working with a diverse supplier. So you've got to compete and earn the business. This is an additional incentive to economically impact historically disenfranchised community and population. So there's no difference to me about being a diverse supplier. I have high expectations. When I think about some of the shortcomings on the journey, instances where I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, but your rubber band is stretched to do the first, I can do that. I think if I were to talk to a diverse supplier, I would encourage them to have that supplier-to-supplier conversation. I find sometimes suppliers may not be willing to partner. Well, I've got to give up revenue, or I've got to give up, but you can also grow and scale very quickly through that kind of partnership, especially given a client interest around engaging a diverse supplier solution.